absence of truth, everything has become ambiguous. And with that comes an attitude of hostility. So you don't want to be so creative that you become destructive rather than disruptive.
Ooh.
See?
So how do you know when that shock is protecting you from, hurting yourself?
That's a very, very, very good question. First of all, is what's on the other side of the shock worth it? The shock is going to hurt. Anytime you are the first at anything, it is going to hurt.
Thank y'all for coming out tonight for a disruptive conversation with a man who I am so happy on Sunday mornings they decide to go live on YouTube every Sunday. There's nothing like being at the Potter House, but Bedside Baptist will do on Sunday mornings on YouTube. How are you, Bishop?
I'm good. How are you?
Disruptive thinking.
Yeah.
Let's start with the basics. What is a disruptor and what is disruptive thinking?
I think that to boil it down to the simplest terms is when you stop blaming other people for the maladies of your life and come to the conclusion that there's something in the way that you are processing your life, that if you change the way you think, you can change the outcomes in your life. I always like to say that mindsets control assets. So you can't change assets. And when I say assets, I don't just mean economically, but just in every area of your life. You can't change assets until you change mindsets. And we don't do that quickly enough because it is so much easier to be the victim and blame other people.
Well, what is disruption to you?
Growth, change, anything, you cannot leave the ground comfortable if you put a seed in it. The seed, the rooting process will disrupt the ground. And anybody who wants you to stay the same, they're asking you not to grow. If you're going to grow, you're going to disrupt some things in order to develop to the full capacity of you. And here's the other thing that I think is important. The only person that I'm in a race with is me. Okay?
That's right.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be Steve Harvey. I'm not trying to be president. I'm not trying to be anybody else. I'm not trying to be Dr. King. I'm only in a race to see how far I was meant to go. Where is my destiny? What is my best? And once I reach my best, the opiate, the extreme evolutionary progressive understanding of my own self, the outworking of the internal completes me. It is not running against other people because that is going to be an endless race. There's always going to be somebody who's stronger than you, who's bigger than you, who's more smart than you, who's better looking than you. There's always somebody out there. If you're running against them, I can't fight my battle with your equipment.
When do we know we need to disrupt?
I think that the most powerful thing about being a human being is the power of a decision. And I see so many of us who don't make decisions, we just complain. And complaining is the weakest thing you can do. Murmuring and complaining doesn't change anything, it just deepens it. So if you replace grumbling with decisions, that is a catalyst for transformation. When people argue, I'm not a good arguer. It's not that I can't do it, it's that I turn into somebody I don't like. Yes, I'm serious. So I found it more powerful to make decisions, to control who comes in or out of my life, to control who I allow to have access to me, to control the atmosphere around me the brilliancy of what I build, I was telling them in the back, my leadership style is team building. And if you're a team builder, you soon begin to understand you are no better than the people you put around you.
That's right.
And if you don't surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, if you must, your ego demands that you must be the smartest person in the room at all times, you will miss the possibilities of what you could be if you surrounded yourself with great people.
How do you keep disruption pure and good?
I think if you don't confuse disruption with destruction, disruption isn't destruction. So I've got, I like to cook. So everybody who follows me on Instagram knows at least during the holidays I'm going to cook.
Oh no, them ribs be looking pre-blessed.
Listen.
Them ribs you be cooking look like they came with a blessing already.
Would you tell him my brother can throw it down? But cooking is disruptive. If you take flour and eggs and butter and put it out with cream cheese and vanilla extract in its original form, if you're not willing to disrupt it, you can't see what it can be. So the whole process of mixing and blending together and stirring and pouring in a pan and putting it in the fire, imagine if that was you getting mixed together with something to put in the fire. That's pretty disruptive. But there's no way to be creative without being disruptive. You can't paint a picture without being disruptive. You can't build this building without being disruptive. It's going to get dirty. It's going to get messy. Creativity thrives in disruption. And yet most of us run away from disruption. So we want to keep things nice and neat at the expense of progress. So just keep it quiet. Don't make me uncomfortable. Don't take me out of my element. Don't put me in a room where I'm not sure of myself. We're more concerned about comfort than we are growth. So the whole narrative of disruptive thinking gives you permission to evolve, to grow, and not have to apologize. I think I was telling you before that I grew up in a little raggedy house on the side of the hills in West Virginia, and we were 3 kids in one room. My parents were in the other room. They finally got a little bit of money and fixed up the attic and turned it into bedrooms. My brother and I shared one side, my sister shared the other, but you had to go upstairs. And what I learned about steps is this: it's not the step you step on that creaks. It's the one you step away from. So when you're walking up the step creaks when you release the weight of being on that step and move to the next one. What am I saying? It's not where you're going that's fighting you. It's where you left. Okay. So you have to decide, do you want to stay on the old step to keep the noise down? Or are you willing to deal with the noise in order to have the elevation?
Man. In Disruptive Thinking, you wrote, the clanging dissonance of violence, anger, fear, and political dissolution threatens to suffocate us all. Anger is the new American pastime. I think I know what you mean, but what do you mean?
I just think we're so angry. We're so angry. You cannot get on social media and say anything about anything and not come up under fire by some group or clique or club. And then if you say the alternate statement, you get fought the other way. And it's not the disagreement that is discouraging. It is the death of civility. The beautiful thing about democracy is that we were allowed to have our own ideas and opinions until we were confronted with a higher truth that melted our opinions into unity. Instead, we're living in a time that opinions have devoured truth. So now there is no absolute. You have a truth, I have a truth, she has a truth, and we're all fighting for our truth. But really, there is only one truth. You know, I saw this sign and it tickled me. It said, men lie, women lie.
Numbers don't?
Numbers don't.
Yeah.
2 + 2 is 4, whether you're in Africa or whether you're in Anguilla, or whether you're in the Ukraine. There are some things that transcend opinion. There's nothing to fight about. It's just true. 2 + 2 is 4. In the absence of truth, everything has become ambiguous. And with that comes an attitude of hostility where my getting up seems to make you feel like it was at your expense that I rose. And then conversely, what it makes you think that killing me will make you king. But killing me won't crown you. And yet we walk down this path of anger and hostility, and what we don't know is this, that depression is just anger turned inside. So when you start talking about our own health and wellness, it is us attacking us. As much as we have outside attackers, and we were talking off stage about the killings and the shootings and all of that, as bad and as horrific as it is, the damage we do to ourselves is far more debilitating than the damage that other people do to us. When you are angry and in a constant state of rage, your pulse raises, your body secretes hormones that it has nothing to do with, that turns into anxiety, that turns into hypertension, that turns into everything that is counterproductive to you. So while you are angry at me, you are killing you. Okay, anger, unforgiveness, hostility, walking around with suppressed rage. And angry isn't always just the people who blow up. Quiet people can be angry too. Some of us internalize our anger to our own destruction. And so I think that the death of civility, anger has become the new pastime sport. If you watch the news, they specifically and intentionally get people on to fight. Because what they're really doing is not trying to give you the news, they're trying to deliver ratings so they can sell advertisement at a higher price. And they know that congeniality and niceness and normalness does not draw eyeballs, but conflict and rage and combativeness draws eyeballs, which increases profit margins, which makes people more money. And then the people who are raging at each other while the lights are on go to lunch. Come on, somebody. Come on. What we don't know, and I didn't know till I got in the business, is that those people are paid to have this argument, and they are brought on to have this debate to enrage you. And then they go to lunch, and you go get a gun and go kill somebody.
That's right. That's right.
So we are being baited, not to mention the algorithms are bringing you truth in the flavor of what you search for. So you have this personalized conveyor belt where your ideas, whatever they are, whether they're proud or racist or sexual or perverted or whatever they are, the algorithms are constantly feeding you what you asked about. Mm-hmm. So the commercials that pop up are all designed and tailor-made around the cookies and whatnot that are in your system, so that what happens is we are self-delusional. Mm-hmm. So we create this climate, if it's hatred, if it's malice, if it's racism, whatever it is, where the technology is bringing you more of whatever it is you ask for. You type in recipes, they'll bring you more recipes. You type in how to make weapons, they're going to give you more of whatever you type in. And what we are doing, we're drinking the Kool-Aid. I grew up with the Jim Jones thing, where everybody drank the Kool-Aid and they all that. We're drinking the Kool-Aid, but we're not mixing the Kool-Aid. We are African Americans in particular, when I say we, and now I'm talking about African Americans, are the nation's greatest consumers and the poorest creators. When people say we're not into technology, that's absolutely wrong. We are absolutely into technology. You might be homeless and you got the latest Apple phone.
That's right. Y'all on Facebook every day.
Yeah. So you can spend hours scrolling on Instagram with no job. It's not that we're not into technology. No, it's true. tell me when I start lying. Now, it's not that we're not into it. We're just into consuming it. We're not into making it. We're not into coding. We're not into developing it. We're not into making apps. We're used to downloading apps, and we're not taught to think creatively. One of the reasons I wrote this book, Charlamagne, was simply this. I'm in this thing about working with entrepreneurs. We started a program called Good Soil, and we're developing and training. Thank you. Yeah, we're developing and training entrepreneurs how to scale up, because about 96% of African American businesses have less than 2 employees or sole proprietors.